Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session, we are going to see current affairs of 10th September 2025. So let's get started with our discussion. Before that, I want to make a small announcement. We in our academy, we are going to start new Prelims Cum Mains Foundation course batch from this 15th of this September, guys. And if you want to take online or offline, you can contact us. And if you have any doubts or any queries or any details if you want to know, so please do contact us on this number 8074765513, or else if you want to meet me directly, you can visit our office which is located in Ashok Nagar, Hyderabad. Okay, now let us see the first article. See the title, guys. So title says CP Radhakrishnan elected Vice President. So in yesterday's class, I said that you have to follow the voting process and how many votes the person is going to get and what is this process of election of Vice President, right? So finally, here now we have our new Vice President. His name is CP Radhakrishnan. Very, very important. Please make a note. And this year, especially students who are going to write this 2026 prelims on this May 24th next year, you have to focus on this Vice President for sure, and you'll be getting lots of questions from this Vice President, guys. Okay, what you have to see. So this article is talking about Vice President, right? From which subject it is important? From GS paper to under polity. So here you have to see certain aspects regarding this Vice President from prelims point of view. So first one is you have to see articles related to Vice President. Which articles talks about Vice President in our constitution, first important point. And next one is you have to see what is the eligibility criteria. So who can become a Vice President, like what is the age and what are the qualifications required. So he need to have the qualifications of a Lok Sabha member or Rajya Sabha member. You have to see that. And next you have to see what is the tenure. And next, if they want to resign, so to whom they can give their resignation, because earlier Vice President, he resigned before completion of his term. So you have to see about resignation process very well this year. And next you have to see about what is the electoral college of this Vice President, who will participate in this elections of Vice President, and what is the mode, that is proportional representative system with a single transferable vote. So you have to see about that mechanism clearly. And next you have to see what are the roles and responsibilities of this Vice President, what he'll do. Okay, so these are the things that you have to see from this Vice President, guys. Very, very important for this year prelims, especially 2026. Now let us see the context. So here Maharashtra Governor CP Radhakrishnan was elected in this 17th and he became the 17th Vice President of India with a margin of 152 votes. So if you see this electoral college of this Vice President, here both Rajya Sabha members and Lok Sabha members will be participating in this election of this Vice President. If you compare with this electoral college of President, in that President, both members of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha along with state legislative assemblies will participate. But in this Vice President, only Lok Sabha members and Rajya Sabha members, they will participate. This is the one important difference between presidential elections and as well as vice presidential elections. So here if you see this infographic which is given here, so this is Radhakrishnan and he became this Vice President now. So actually the full electoral colleges, from Rajya Sabha we have 245 members and from Lok Sabha we have 543 members. So total electoral colleges like 788 members. So out of this, 781 is the present strength. So in Rajya Sabha we have 239 members and in Lok Sabha we have 542 members. So if you remove these vacancies, the total electoral college now they participated in this election is 781 members. So in this, there are 752 are valid votes and 15 are invalid. They removed this invalid votes and total votes they were polled is around 752. So out of this person Radhakrishnan got 452 votes and opposite person got like 300 votes. So actually finally this Radhakrishnan won with 152 votes of majority. Okay. So here if you see, one important point that you have to make a note is, he is from which political party? So he is from NDA. Okay, so these are the things that you have to see, guys. Okay, now let us see some basics from your polity point of view. So vice president election follows a unique democratic process. And which article talks about this elections of vice president? Please make a note. Article 66. Article 66, which talks about the election process of this vice president, and electoral college of this vice president includes both the members of both the house of the parliament, that is Lok Sabha and as well as Rajya Sabha, and even nominated members will do vote for this vice president. This is a very important concept. And next one here is, if you compare with this president's electoral college and the vice president electoral college, as I said, in president, state legislative assemblies will also participate, but that is not in the case of vice president. And this election employs proportional representative system through a single transferable oath. In your polity, you will be clearly knowing about this proportional representative system. Okay, and if you see who are eligible, so here elected, normally any person can participate, but he has to follow certain eligibility guidelines. The first one is he should be the citizen of India, first important point. And next one is he should have the eligibility criteria as a Rajya Sabha member, not a Lok Sabha member, because vice president will be acting as ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. So he has to eligible for the membership as a member of Rajya Sabha. Yes, and he should have at least 35 years of old, and he should not hold any office of profit, and he should not be the member of parliament or state legislature. Then only he will be eligible. And after once we elect this vice president, what is the next step? Next step is taking the oath. So here very important point is the oath is administered by president or a designated person to uphold constitution as well as, and he has to make a promise that he will be discharging his duties of the office according to this article 69 of Indian constitution, guys. And what are the important roles and responsibilities of this vice president? The first and the foremost thing here is he will be the ex officio chairman of this Rajya Sabha, first important point. And next one is he will be not having any power of voting. Only in this case of tie only he will be casting his vote. That is the second important point that you have to remember. And third one is vice president will also act as a president during vacancy. If there is any vacancy caused by death, registration, then here this vice president can act as a president till the new president is appointed. Okay, that is the thing. And see this next article, guys. Anarchy in Kathmandu as PM Oli resigns, Parliament Supreme Court vandalized. So what is this article talking about? This article is talking about issue which is going on in Nepal. Okay, to know that we have to know some recent history, what is happening in this Kathmandu, what is happening in that region, and how it is going to have impact on India. So if you see India and its bordering countries, do we share direct boundary with this Nepal? So here we have Nepal, right? That means India is sharing direct boundary with Nepal. Yes. So, okay, remember this point. The first important point is India is directly sharing boundary with Nepal. And if you go back to history, what is happening in the recent past? Recently, Nepal government banned 26 social media platforms. For example, WhatsApp, Insta, Facebook, Twitter. So like that, it had even YouTube also had been banned in this Nepal. So why this Nepal government banned this is they felt that because of the social media platforms, there is increasing of misinformation, disinformation spread is happening. And actually people, especially students, they are not satisfied with this present government because of corruption, because of increased unemployment rate, because of governance failures, because of all these problems, that youth are not satisfied with the present government's rule in that so and so Nepal. So because of this, there is a very rapid spread of disinformation, misinformation is happening in this Nepal. And even government said that youth, they are using the social media platforms to organize groups to fight against government. So because of this, they banned this 26 social media apps. Then what happened? This youth, they started saying that to stop the criticism against government, they banned this. social media platforms. And now this youth, they went to parliament and they were entering into this parliament and they started doing protests and they started attacking some government officials, everything. So because of this, now what happened? So here this government of Nepal imposed immediate curfew. So curfew means, you know, right? So whoever you are doing riots, so this government officials, police officers, they will go and they will beat them and they'll try to maintain law and order. That is called as immediate curfew. And even in our country also, you might have heard about section 144 of IPC. So where if more than two people are forming groups, means they will be beaten and they will be taken up by the police, right? So in the same way, they also immediately imposed this curfew in that region. Okay, and what happens later on also, lots of protests which are happening in different areas of this Nepal. And what government did is, even though after imposing of this curfew also, we are not normalizing the situation here, so we have to restart whatever the apps which are banned. So what happened, government again restarted or restored banned apps in this Nepal. And now finally this Nepal government resigned. Prime Minister of this Nepal resigned to his post. So because of this is in news, guys. So actually this incident is one of the important cases that we can write, like, so whenever government is trying to suppress the youth voices, whenever government is restricting this digital media freedom, then it will be a threat for our democracy, right? So that is one important case that you can see here. And most of the articles in today's newspaper is related to this. Why? Because now you are directly sharing boundary. So here we have Nepal, right? We are sharing directly boundary with Nepal. If some instability is happening in this Nepal, if there is any fear of life, then what happened? People will directly cross the border and they enter into our country, right? So whenever they'll enter into our country, will our Indians tolerate this? No, that will lead to social tensions, increasing of communal violence, right? So because of this, now government is taking lots of steps to stop the entry of this Nepalese into our country, and especially different state governments are tightening here the border security, guys. So because of this is in news. Okay. So here you can use this case study while you are writing about digital freedom. And next one is restricting of youth voices. And you can also use under this article 19(1)(a). It talks about freedom of speech and expression in India, but we can't apply this article 19 directly in Nepal because Nepal's constitution is different from our constitution, right? So whenever you are writing about article 19(1)(a) in our country point of view, in India point of view, you can add this case that recently so and so incident happened in Nepal because of this curbing or violating of article 19(1) subclass A. Clear? And apart from that, you can also use under this article 21, which talks about right to life and personal liberty. In that article also we can take this case study. So you have to collect this kind of case studies so that you can write a very good essay and as well as good substantiation for your argument in your mains. Okay, let us see the next article. So see this image, guys. So what can you find in this image? They are belonging to certain tribes and they are participating in certain kind of festival or event. Yes, that you can infer, right? So these are the tribes which are celebrating one harvest festival and they belongs to Tiwa tribes. Very important, please make a note. Tiwa, Tiwa tribes. And they are celebrating one festival called as Langkhun, Lang, Lang, Khun, Langkhun festival in Assam. So as I said, you have to collect this harvest festivals, guys. Yes, can you recall that? So I said you have to collect this harvest festivals which are celebrated in India of mainstream and as well as tribal people, and you have to make notes in this format. So how I said, so you have to write the name of the tribe on one side, and next in which state they belongs to, and which kind of harvest festival they will celebrate, name of that festival, and even you can see that timings, like whether they celebrate in this Rabi season or Kharif season. Okay, so in this way you have to make the notes for this. So now let us see these facts regarding this Tiwa tribe and as well as the festival. So Tiwa tribesmen are celebrating this occasion of this Langkon festival in Karbi and Alok district of Assam. And actually it is annual festival, that means they will celebrate this every year. And during this festival, farmers, they pray for God, good harvest. And actually Thiwa is an ethnic group mainly inhabiting in states of not only Assam, even in Meghalaya, in some northeastern states also we can see this group of people. And actually this Tiwa tribe community mainly depends on agriculture, and that too they follow sweatening. Sweatening is nothing but shifting cultivation or slash and burn type of cultivation. Okay, that's it, nothing more than that. Yeah, see this next article, guys. Poor NARI ranking exposes women's safety gaps in Delhi. So this article is talking about what? One important report, and this report is focusing on especially women's safety. Do we have women and women related issues in our syllabus? Yes, in GS paper on society and even in GS paper 2 in social issues also, we will be studying about problems of women and their status, women empowerment, and it is one of the important area of UPSC as well. So every year UPSC will ask question regarding women empowerment, women safety related things, either in essay or even in your GS1 or GS2. So this article is talking about ranking related to women's safety, and it is saying that women's safety is not there and Delhi is ranking least in this women's safety. Okay, so where you can use this article? You can use this article as a case study, or like you can write this data of this ranking in substantiation while you are writing that whenever there is lack of safety. For example, in recent class we discussed that women's labor force participation is very less. So if you are writing any answer regarding what are the reasons behind this very low female force participation is, there you will be writing about patriarchal rules and lack of safety, right? So in that lack of safety, you can write example. Recently this ranking said that Delhi is ranking lowest. So like that you can use this report as a substantiation, guys. So you have to collect this kind of data for sure. Okay. So this article is very important from your GS paper 1 and as well as GS paper 2. So this article is saying that in this NARI rankings of 2025, Delhi is ranking least. The poor ranking got to this Delhi. Why? Because there are lots of gaps, safety gaps in Delhi, and as well as weak institutional support, inadequate infrastructure, and as well as there is lots of patriarchal norms. Because of this, there is a very poor safety for women in Delhi. And if you see the details, it mainly says that NARI 2025 report surveyed around 12,770 women across 31 Indian cities, and based on that they gave ranking, and Delhi is the least safest place in our country. And next one is Patna, Jaipur and Kolkata also like least safest spaces, and only 60% of women they feel that safe overall in all the cities in our country. So actually what is this ranking is about? Actually this ranking will be given by National Commission for Women. Very, very important. Please make a note here. So this ranking, I'll show you where it is exactly. Okay, write down NARI full form is National Annual Report and Index on Women's Safety. NARI full form is National Annual Report and Index on Women's Safety 2025, launched by National Commission for Women. National Commission for Women. Okay, now let us see some more important points. Why Delhi scores poor? So first important thing, they've said that there are weak institutional responsiveness. So many women, they lack faith that their complaints will be addressed effectively. That means if women are working in any institutions, if they're giving any complaints regarding their problems, so those institutions, they are not taking care of their problems. Their problems are not addressed properly. So because of this, there is no trust in authorities, and even Sometimes institutions, they will not have anti-harassment institutions as well. And this one is, we have deep-rooted patriarchal mindset. There is nothing but male-dominant mindset in our society. And this one is, there is poor lighting, especially during night time or evening times. In the lanes, we don't have proper lighting. We don't have proper public transport with trust. And there is also lack of women-friendly urban planning. So because of all these things, there is increasing of women's safety issues. And this one here is, majority of the incidents, they will go unreported. So that is also one important problem that we have. And what is the impact of this poor ranking? So because of this poor ranking, if women, they want to move towards Delhi, so there is lack of trust, and women, they will not move towards Delhi because of the security issues. And there will be increased fear, and as well as reducing of independence, and as well as women, they will not catch their opportunities in this Delhi now. And this one here is, obviously it will be having impact on the women's health if they or even want to participate in this social and educational and as well as professional activities. If their opportunities or curtailments, obviously they'll feel mentally low. And this one is, it will be also having impact on the workforce. And this one is, there will be increasing of trust deficit, and even it will have some long-term social cost as well. So if you see some facts regarding this report, NARI report, it is released by National Commission for Women. And actually it placed national safety score at 65%, and it will be giving categories like much above, above, below, or much below benchmark based on the ranking. And especially in India, Kohima, Visakhapatnam, Bhubaneswar, Aizawl, Gangtok, Itanagar and Mumbai, they are the safest cities for our women in our country. And especially Patna, Jaipur, Faridabad, Delhi, Kolkata, Srinagar and Ranchi, they were ranked the lowest in the safety ranking. Okay, so see those things, guys. That's it. And especially which kind of harassment we can see because of this, there is lack of safety for women, is verbal harassment is very, very common. So whenever women are working, there are some people, they will be commenting on women. So that is called as verbal harassment. Around 58% of women, they face this verbal harassment. And even sometimes physical, psychological, economic and sexual harassment also had been reported frequently. And especially from neighborhoods, we will be getting 38% of harassment. And in transport, that is in normally while you're using this metros or trains or buses or vans, whatever it may be, in that place also they are facing harassment around 29%. Yeah, that is the thing. Okay, let us see the next article, guys. See the title: 3 soldiers killed as avalanche hits army base camp in Siachen of Ladakh. So what is the keyword here? The keyword is avalanche, right? Okay, from which subject we can see this avalanche? From GS paper 1 under geography. And even because of this avalanche, there is a loss of life. 3 soldiers, they lost their life. That means it is causing loss of life. So we can connect with this under GS paper 3 under disaster management, because it is causing a disaster. Okay, from these two subjects we can see this. So here you have to see what is avalanche, types of avalanches, what are the reasons behind this happening of avalanche. So if you see these things, then it is okay, guys. So avalanche is nothing but it is a sudden rapid flow of snow or ice or debris down a mountain or a slope. If there is any mountain which is covered with ice or snow or debris, suddenly, very, very fastly, this will come down. That will cause this avalanche. In many movies, you might have seen about the snow avalanches, ice avalanches. That is called as ice avalanche. So whenever it is coming down, it is blocking the road, or if there are any vehicles in that area which are moving on that, it will fall suddenly. So because of this, loss of life and even infrastructure damage can happen sometimes. Okay, so it is mainly triggered by heavy snowfall or rapid temperature changes or human activities. Whenever you are going for drilling activities, obviously it will cause avalanche, right? And this one is if there is any heavy snowfall, so unbearable snow which is coming and which is falling, obviously it will come down. Or else if there are any rapid temperature changes, whenever this ice is melting at a very fast rate. So what happens whenever the layer of water formed means it will be becoming slippery and it will slide down. So because of all these reasons, we can say this avalanche can happen. And especially if you see the types of this avalanche, we have 3 types. First one is rock avalanche. That is nothing but huge number of rocks, big boulders of rocks will come down. And next one is ice avalanche, typically occur near a glacier. Whenever the glacier is covered by ice, then what happens? Ice will come down. That is called as ice avalanche. Next one is debris avalanche. Debris is nothing but loose soil, loose stones that will come down. And what are the causes? As I said, the first one is weather condition. Whenever there is heavy snowfall or rapid temperature changes or strong winds or rain, they can contribute to this avalanche. And next one here is slope conditions. Whenever the slope is steep, okay, so here you have to know these two concepts. So if a mountain is like this, for example, if it is like this, in which this is case 1 and this is case 2, in which case we have this problem of avalanche in this case. So this slope is called as steep slope and this slope is called as gentle slope. Okay, in the steep sloped hills or mountains, we have this problem of avalanche. Okay, and next one here is because of human activity like skiers, snowmobilers, recreation activities. Whenever we are going for drilling or dam construction, infrastructure construction also, it will cause this kind of sudden movements. And even certain natural events like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, rock falls, they can also trigger this avalanche. Okay, so these are the things that you have to see, guys. And now let us see the next article. See the title, The Long March Ahead to Technological Independence. So this article is talking about we have to prepare our own technology related equipments. That is called as Atmanirbhar Bharat in technology or self-reliance in technology. And this topic is very important from your science and technology and as well as GS paper 3 under economy, guys. Okay, so this article is talking about technology independence, right? So this topic is important from your GS paper 3 under science and technology and as well as from GS paper 3 under economy. Okay, now you guys tell me, India is a developed country or developing country? Developing country. So on what basis we are saying that India is developing country? Because we don't have proper advancements in science and technology, right? So we are importing lots of technological things or technological equipments from other countries. For example, if you take defense, so we are importing this S-400 missile from which country? Russia. Are we importing any other technology from other countries? Yes, from US we are importing, from France we are importing, from most of the European countries we are importing. Okay, so if you are importing this technology from other countries, can we become a developed nation? No. And we always dependent on imports, right? So if you are dependent on imports, is that good for our economy? We have to pay in foreign currency. So because of this, it will reduces our foreign reserves also. It will also leads to trade deficit. Yes or no? What is trade deficit? Whenever imports are more compared to that of exports, that condition is called as trade deficit. And normally India will be exporting textiles, garments, pharmaceutical things. They are like low cost. But we are importing very highly costly equipment. So we have to pay hundreds of crores. Yes or no? So because of this, it will also cause trade deficit. And what about employment opportunities? Can we create employment opportunities in our country if you are importing directly the equipment from other countries? No. So here we can also have this problem of unemployment. And can we achieve our third largest economy target? No. Can we achieve this target of Viksit Bharat by 2047? No. So because of this article is saying that to solve all these problems now we are having in our country, we have to focus on technology independence. And one more point they said that, so there is lot of uncertainty in trade. So we don't know like how the relations between the countries will be changed. So now Oli government ended, right? He came out of that. He resigned that. So we don't know who will come into power. So if a new person is coming into power or new political party is coming into power in other countries, how India and that country's relations will be going to change, no one can expect, right? So because of this, always in this geopolitics we have lots of uncertainties. So to avoid that also we need to focus on this technology independence. For example, let us take like we are importing certain goods from this country. India is importing from this country. but suddenly this country will stop exports, then what happened? Our country will be affecting or not, obviously. So because of this, what happened? We have to focus on this technology independence. That is the thing we mainly said. So so I want to ask you one question, guys. So is our government taking any steps to improve development of technology in our country? Yes, what are the steps, recent steps? So we came up with this semiconductor mission, right? So recently government gave approval for 4 semiconductor plants in which states? Odisha, Punjab and AP, right? Okay. Apart from that, government came up with this vocal for locals. Vocal for locals is nothing but voice for our domestic goods. And even government came up with this PLI scheme for increasing of manufacturing in our country. And not only that, government is coming up with agreements with different countries, not only getting of equipment but even technology transfer, right? And next, okay, so here what you have to see is why we have to focus on technology independence and what government steps are taking. First of all, you have to know about what is the meaning of technology independence. Clear? And this topic is very, very important from your mains, guys. And today's mains question is based on this topic only. Okay, so this article is talking that India's journey towards technology independence is a strategic long-term effort. So we are focusing on reducing of our dependency on foreign countries. We want to reduce our imports. Why? Because it is very important for national security, economic growth and as well as global competitiveness. So here what is the meaning of technology independence? It refers to an ability of a nation, please focus here, design, manufacture and maintain core technologies, especially in certain areas like semiconductors, cloud infrastructure, software platforms, AI, cyber security and advanced manufacturing. In all these areas, that country need to design, that country need to manufacture and that country need to maintain the technologies. Then only we can say that country is technologically independent country. And for that, India came up with certain missions like semiconductor mission, yes we know that, and digital Atmanirbhar Bharat, and even government is providing lots of incentives for this MSMEs for increasing of manufacturing in our country. Okay, so why we are focusing on this now? Because we need to focus on national security. If you are dependent on this foreign technology, they'll give outdated technology in their country that will become updated technology in our country. So they know how to operate that, how to utilize that, and how to manipulate that. So if our enemy country is joining with that country from which we got that equipment, what happened? So they know about our country's equipment, they can easily manipulate that, so it will be having impact on our national security. So for boosting of the national security, yes, we need that. And not only that, we have to focus on our economic autonomy. That is nothing but we have to focus on our production, our employment opportunities. We have to provide the skill to our people so that we can address the inlined problems like poverty, hunger in our country. And next one is we have to focus on geopolitics, because nowadays there is rising of protectionist policies. That means other countries, foreign countries, they want to protect their manufacturing units in their country. For example, you can take US tariffs. Why US is imposing 25% of tariff? That is to protect their domestic countries or domestic industries. And again 25% is because of Russian Sanction Act. Altogether they are imposing 50% tariff, right? So why? Because of this protectionist policy. So whenever all countries are coming up with this protectionist policy, then what happens? There will be supply chain disruptions. There will be no free flow of imports and exports. That's nothing but trade won't happen. So because of this, obviously it will be affecting entire economy of that country. And this one here is we have to focus on our diverse language, our diverse culture, infrastructure, so that we can drive the digital reach for sure. Because India is very famous for unity in diversity. We have lots of diversity. So we can use that diverse knowledge for improvement in our manufacturing sector. And even our Prime Minister said that we want to become the third largest economy in the world. And even in the semiconductors also, what the statement our Prime Minister made, we want to reach 1 trillion economy in the semiconductors by 2030, right? So if you want to reach all those targets, obviously we have to focus on technology independence. Okay, but we are having certain challenges. What challenges we have? There is no proper infrastructure. Do we have that much amount of funds? Funds is also very, very less. And are we focusing on research and development much? No. So infrastructure dependencies are like one important problem. We are focusing on getting of chips from other countries, especially Korea and as well as China. And this one is, even if you are getting the technology, adoption is very, very important and very difficult. We may not adapt to the new technology. And this one is, there is no proper policy and research and development ecosystem in our country. So because of this, they are like challenges, and we have to overcome these challenges so that we can become technologically independent country in the future. Clear? So these are the important topics that happened in our newspaper, guys. So by this I'm concluding. Thank you so much for watching, and please do think about this joining of Prelims Cum Mains foundation course, either online or offline. And the new batch is going to be started from the September 15th, guys. Don't miss this date and try to use this opportunity. And please do like this class and share this class to your friends, and do subscribe to Rathod's IAS Academy. Don't forget.